He knows she takes her coffee at exactly 6:47 in the morning, not 7:00. He knows she sleeps on her left side with one hand tucked under the pillow. He knows she stopped wearing the silver ring on her right hand 3 days before she consciously realized she'd made the decision to take it off. Zainab discovered this at 11:34 p.m. on a Thursday, standing in Kang Seo-jun's private office on the 3rd floor off the family estate, staring at photographs of herself she never knew existed. But that discovery came after the parking structure, after the bullets, after she learned that the man who saved her at the altar had been watching her long before she ever stepped into that chapel. It started with glass spiderwebbing across her car window. The first bullet hit at 11:47. Zainab's hands jerked on the wheel, but she didn't scream. She counted. 1, 2, 3 seconds before the second shot punched through the driver's side mirror. They weren't trying to kill her. Not yet. They were hurting her. She knew this because her hands steadied and her heart hammered against her ribs, and somewhere in the back of her mind, a voice that sounded like her father's said, "When men want you dead, they don't give warnings." The parking structure was empty. Level 3 of the Gangnam Arts Center. She'd noticed the emptiness wench pulled in 20 minutes ago, but exhaustion had made her careless. The gallery opening had run past midnight. Her feet hurt in the heels Seo-jun's mother had sent to her room that morning. Cream leather, exact size. She hadn't asked how they knew. 3 men appeared in her rearview mirror. Professional, patient. They didn't run, they walked. That was worse. Zainab's fingers found her phone. He scrolled past her sister Amara's number, past the gallery director, past names that couldn't help her. She stopped at the contact labeled only with initials. KSJ. She'd programmed it the day after the wedding. Promised herself she'd never use it except in emergency. Her thumb hovered over the call button. This counted. She pressed it. He answered before the first ring completed. "Where are you?" A question. Never a question with Kang Seo-jun. Parking structure. Level 3. Gangnam Arts Center. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "There are." "I know. Stay in the car. Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone." Slid down her spine. "How do you?" "Not even the police. Do you understand?" Another gunshot. Closer. The rear window cracked. "Do you understand, Zainab?" Her name in his mouth always sounded like ownership. "Yes." The line went dead. She sat in the darkness, hands gripping the steering wheel, watching the 3 men advance in her mirrors. They were taking their time. One of them was on a phone, reporting. The other 2 fanned out, blocking both. Exits from her parking spot. Professional, military stance. One had a tattoo creeping up his neck. Coring characters she couldn't read from this distance. Her phone buzzed. A text from KSJ. 2 minutes, engine off, lights off, get low. She obeyed, killed the engine, killed the lights, slid down in her seat until her cheek pressed against the leather. Her grandmother's coral beads dug into her collarbone. The ones Mama Bolus had sent from Lagos with a note that said, "Wear these when you need to remember who you are." She could hear them now. Footsteps. Voices speaking Korean too fast for her limited vocabulary. One of them kicked her rear tire. Testing. The car rocked slightly. She pressed her lips together and tasted the lipstick she'd applied 6 hours ago, before the gallery opening, when she'd still thought tonight would be about art and champagne and pretending her marriage was normal. Then she heard it. Another engine. Coming fast, tires squealing on concrete. The footsteps around her car stopped. Voices rose, urgent now, running gunshots. Multiple, not aimed at her this time. The driver's door yanked open so suddenly she gasped. A hand grabbed her wrist, pulled. She stumbled out hand into Kang Seo-jun's arms, not an embrace, extraction. He turned her, pushed her toward a black sedan-idling 3 feet away, engine running. She caught a glimpse of 2 bodies on the concrete, not moving. The third man was gone. Seo-jun's hand stayed locked around her wrist as he opened the sedan's passenger door and guided her inside with a palm against the top of her head. Careful, controlled. Like he'd done this before, he slid into the driver's seat, put the car in gear. They were moving before her door fully closed. Silence. Just the hum of the engine and her own breathing, too loud in the enclosed space. Zainab's hands shook in her lap. She pressed them together. Seo-jun drove with one hand on the wheel, the other resting on the gear shift. No blood on him. No sign he just shot 2 men. His shirt was still perfectly pressed. His breathing was even. She looked at him. Really looked. Sharp jaw, dark eyes fixed on the road, hair pushed back from his forehead. He'd been in a meeting when she called. She could tell by the jacket the tie still knotted at his throat despite Thauer. "You killed them," she said. "No, I saw. You saw them go down. I didn't kill them." His voice was flat, matter of fact. "Kim did." Kim, my head of security, he's cleaning up now, cleaning up like bodies were a spill, like this was routine. Who were they? Does it matter? Yes. She was surprised by the force in her own voice. It matters to me. Seo Jun glanced at her just for a second. His eyes moved over her face, her hands, the beads at her throat, cataloging, assessing. He looked back at the road. Competitors, trying to send a message. To you, to me, hurting me, taking you. He said it simply, like it was obvious. Hurting you would be pointless, you're more valuable intact. The words landed like a slap, valuable, intact, like she was inventory. Take me home, she said quietly. I meant my apartment. You don't have an apartment anymore. The lease ended last month. She stared at him. You canceled it. You weren't using it. That wasn't your decision to make. Everything about you is my decision now. He said it without heat, without emotion, a statement of fact. Yao signed a contract. Fingers curled into fists. The contract said marriage, not ownership. The fine print. She had read it, every clause, every subsection. But she'd been standing in a lawyer's office at 11 at night, still wearing the wedding handbook that fit her perfectly, and Clause 9 had been staring at her from the bottom off page 3. In the event of separation, Party B forfeits all financial support, visa sponsorship, and legal protection previously provided. Party B, that was her. She'd signed because leaving meant going back to Lagos with nothing. Meant telling her parents the marriage was a sham. Meant losing the gallery, the archive project, 3 years of work. Meant admitting Min Yi's betrayal had broken something she couldn't fix. But sitting in Seo Jun's car, watching the city lights blur past, smelling gunpowder still faint in the air, she wondered if she'd traded one trap for another. They pulled through the gates of the Kang estate 20 minutes later. The house rose against the night sky like something out of a period drama. Traditional architecture mixed with modern security. Cameras everywhere. Guards at every entrance. Zainab had counted them her first week. 12 visible, probably more hidden. Seo Jun parked in the private garage, killed the engine. Neither of them moved. Angry, he said. I'm tired. You're angry. She turned to face him. You canceled my apartment. You knew where I was tonight without me telling you. You arrived in less than 2 minutes, which means you were already close, which means you were already watching. So yes, I'm angry. He absorbed this without blinking. Would you prefer I'd let them take you? Prefer you'd let me live my life? You don't have a life separate from me anymore. That's what marriage means. That's what prison means. Something flickered in his eyes, not anger, something colder. He reached across the console. Zainab went still. His hand moved to her throat, not squeezing, just resting against the coral beads. His thumb brushed the hollow of her collarbone. If this were prison, he said quietly, you wouldn't have a phone, you wouldn't have your gallery work, you wouldn't have freedom to go anywhere in Seoul. You'd be in a room I controlled when I decided to let you out. His thumb pressed slightly, not painful, a reminder. This isn't prison, Zainab, this is protection, learn the difference. He withdrew his hand, got out of the car, came around to open her door, offered his hand to help her out, shouldered it, stood on her own. Her legs were shaky, but she locked her knees and walked toward the house entrance. His voice followed her. You're welcome, by the way. She stopped, didn't turn around. For what? For saving your life. You wouldn't have needed to save it if marrying you hadn't put me in danger in the first place. She heard him laugh, soft, humorless. You think you were safe before, you think Min Yi's world was clean. His footsteps approached. He stopped close behind her, close enough she could feel his breath against her hair. You've been in danger since the moment you stepped into this family. I'm just the only one honest enough to admit it. Before she could respond, he moved past her, opened the door. Gestured for her to enter first. She did. Heffalowed. The door closed behind them with a soft, final click. If you want to see how Zainab survives in a marriage built on surveillance and control, how she discovers the truth about her husband's obsession, and whether she'll stay trapped or find a way to turn the game in her favor, subscribe now and hit that notification bell because this story only gets darker from here. Drop a comment telling me if you think Zainab should run or fight back, and stick with me until the end because the real twist is coming. 37 days earlier, Zainab had stood in a different room wearing a different set of clothes, and her life had shattered in front of 200 witnesses. The wedding chapel was private. Luxury. White roses and traditional Korean lanterns mixed with Nigerian oswoke fabric draped across the altar. A fusion ceremony. That's what the wedding planner had called it. Respectful of both cultures. Beautiful. Expensive. Live streamed to 4 million viewers because Min Yi's family believed in publicity. Zainab stood at the altar in her wedding hanbok, cream silk with gold embroidery, and watched her fiancé's face as he prepared to destroy her. Kang Min-yi was beautiful. That's what everyone said. The golden heir. The clean son. The one who ran Thetek subsidiaries and the real estate ventures and smiled for cameras. He had his mother's elegant bone structure and his father's business acumen and absolutely no conscience. He'd been holding her hand. Then he let go. "I'm sorry," he said, loud enough for the microphones. "I can't do this." Chapel went silent. Even the livestream comments must have frozen. Zainab felt her heartbeat in her ears, felt the coral beads from her grandmother pressing against her collarbone, felt 200 pairs of eyes land in her like physical weight. "What?" Her voice came out steady. That surprised her. Min-yi looked at her with what might have been actual regret, or might have been excellent acting. With him it was impossible to tell. "I'm in love with someone else. I have been for months. I can't marry you when my heart belongs to another woman." He turned to the crowd. "I apologize to everyone who came to celebrate today. I apologize to Zainab and her family, but I can't live a lie." The crowd erupted. Murmurs, gasps, phones rising. Zainab stood frozen, her mind racing through calculations. Her visa was tied to this marriage. Her gallery funding came from the Kang Family Foundation. Her parents had already hosted an engagement party in Lagos. Her younger sister Amara was supposed to come visit next month, so proud of Zainab's success. She was about to become a meme. Then a voice cut through the noise. Male, calm, close. Zainab Ademi. She turned. Kang Seo stood 2 feet away. She'd met him exactly twice. Once at a family dinner where he'd sat at the far end of the table and spoken maybe 10 words. Once at a gallery opening where he'd looked at her charcoal series for 15 minutes straight without commenting. Min-yi's older brother. The one the family didn't discuss in polite company. The one who made money in ways no one wanted explained. He wore a black suit. No tie. His hair was slightly too long for corporate standards. His eyes were very dark and very focused. "Will you marry me?" he asked. The chapel went silent again. Different silence this time. Shocked, Min-yi's face drained of color. "Hyung, what are you?" "I'm asking Zainab a question." Seo-jun didn't look at his brother. His eyes stayed locked on her face. "Will you marry me?" Zainab's mind spun. This was insane. She didn't know this man. But she knew the alternative. She knew walking away meant deportation, meant financial ruin, meant going home in disgrace. She knew her parents had liquidated assets to help pay for this wedding. She knew her father had negotiated business contracts based on this alliance. And she knew something else. Something in the way Seo-jun was looking at her, like he'd been waiting for this exact moment. "Why?" she asked. "Does it matter?" "Yes." He stepped closer, lowered his voice so only she could hear. "Because I don't waste opportunities. Because you need a solution and I'm offering one. Because in 5 seconds you're going to say yes and we're both going to walk out of here and this disaster becomes a story about my brother's weakness instead of your humiliation." "And what do you get?" His mouth curved, not quite a smile. "You isn't that enough." He should have heard the warning in those words, should have recognized predatory patience when it introduced itself. But she was standing in a wedding dress with cameras recording and her life collapsing and Kang Seo was offering her a way to survive. She said, the crowd gasped. Cameras flashed. Seo took her hand. His grip was firm, warm, possessive. "Good girl," he murmured, so quiet only she could hear. That should have been her first warning. It wasn't. The wedding proceeded. The officiant looked bewildered but continued when Seo nodded. Vows were exchanged. Rings appeared, different rings, simpler bands that Seo produced from his jacket pocket like had been carrying them all along. The kiss was brief, chaste. His lips brushed hers and his hand tightened on her waist, and she heard him exhale like a man who just set down a weight he'd been carrying for months. When they turned to face the crowd, she saw Min-yi's face. White, furious, shocked, and something else fierce, Seo led her down the aisle. His hand stayed locked on hers. Outside the chapel, a car waited, black sedan, engine running. He opened the door for her. She got in. He slid in beside her and the car pulled away before Thegists could even exit the building. Silence. Just the hum of the engine and soul passing by outside the tinted windows. That was, she started, necessary. He pulled out his phone. Started typing. "We're going to my lawyer's office. We'll sign the official papers, then I'll take you home." "Home?" "The family estate. Your things are already being moved from your apartment." She stared at him. "You already moved my things." "I had them packed this morning." This morning, before the wedding, he looked at her. "I knew you'd say yes. You couldn't have known Min-yi would." She stopped. Ice formed in her stomach. You knew Hugh was going to back out. Seo Jun returned his attention to his phone. My brother is predictable, weak men always are. You make him do it? I gave him a choice, he chose poorly. He finished typing, put the phone away. He could have married Yuan, kept his mistress quietly. Instead, he decided to make a grand romantic gesture. Stupid, but useful. Useful. Me, not for him. Zainab felt something cold settle in her chest. You manipulated this entire thing. Created an opportunity. You chose to take it. I didn't have a choice. You always have a choice. You chose survival. I respect that. He looked at her again, those dark eyes moving over her face, reading her. You're angry, that's natural, you'll get over it. Will I? Yes. Because the alternative is going back to your apartment tonight, packing your things, booking a flight to Lagos, and explaining to your family why the marriage failed on the wedding day. Your choice, Zainab, always your choice. He was right. That was the worst part. He was absolutely right. They signed the papers at 11:00 p.m. in a glass office with a view of the Han River. The lawyer was a woman in her 50s with perfect posture and no expression. She slid the contract across the table. 23 pages, Zainab read every word. Clause 1, public appearances required. Minimum 4 per month. Major family events mandatory. Clause 2, separate bedrooms. No cohabitation obligations unless mutually agreed. Clause 3, no intimate relations required or expected. Consent mandatory for any physical contact beyond public affection. Clause 4, duration of marriage to be determined based on mutual agreement and external circumstances. Minimum 1 year. Clause 5, financial support provided. Monthly allowance, credit cards, housing, security. Clause 6, professional independence maintained. Zainab's gallery work and archive project to continue with full funding. Clause 7, public unity enforced. No contradictory statements to media. All public disputes to be resolved privately. Clause 8, fidelity not required but discretion mandatory. Public infidelity grounds for immediate contractermination. Clause 9, in the event of separation. Party B forfeits all financial support, visa sponsorship, and legal protection previously provided. Party B was her. She read Clause 9 3 times. What does legal protection mean? She asked. The lawyer looked at Seo Jun. He nodded. It means, the lawyer said carefully, that as Kang Seo Jun's wife, you are under the protection of the Kang family legal team and security apparatus. If you separate, that protection is withdrawn. Why would I need protection? Silence. The lawyer looked at Seo Jun again. He leaned back in his chair. Because you're marrying into a family with enemies, he said. Business rivals, political opponents, people who would hurt you to hurt us. As my wife, you're protected. As my ex-wife, you're a vulnerability we can't afford. I'm trapped. You're safe, there's a difference. Zainab looked down at the contract, at the pen waiting beside it, at the signature line with her name typed underneath. You don't have to sign, Seo Jun said softly. You can walk away right now. I'll have Kim drive you to your apartment. You can pack, catch a flight tomorrow, no hard feelings. She looked at him. He was watching her with that same focused intensity, waiting, patient. If I don't sign, she said slowly, what happens to my visa? It expires in 90 days. The gallery funding. The foundation will reconsider its grant allocation. My family's business contracts. Those were negotiated in good faith based on the marriage alliance. If there's no alliance. He spread his hands. Business is business. So it wasn't a choice at all. Not really. Zainab picked up the pen. She thought about her grandmother's words when she'd left Lagos. The world is not kind to women who stand alone. Find your place. Protect it fiercely. She thought about her sister Amara, still in university, whose tuition Zainab had been helping to pay. She thought about the archive project, 3 years off work documenting Nigerian art in the diaspora, all funded by the Kang Foundation. She signed. Seo Jun smiled. Not relief, not satisfaction, recognition. Like she just confirmed something he already knew. Welcome to the family, he said. The Kang family estate sat in Seongbukdong, where old money lived behind high walls and traditional gates. The house itself was a study in contrasts. Traditional Hanok architecture on the outside, stark modern design within. Wood and stone and glass. Beautiful. Cold, Seo Jun's mother waited in the formal receiving room. Kang Yeon-hee was 58 and elegant in the way off women who'd been beautiful once and knew how to weaponize memory. She wore a silk hanbok, her hair wasped back in a perfect chignon. Her eyes moved over Zainab like she was assessing merchandise. "So," she said in Korean, "you're the one who caused such drama." Zainab had been studying Korean for 3 years. She understood more than she could speak. She bowed. "I apologize for any disruption, Iamionim." Yeonhee's eyebrow lifted slightly. At the Korean. At the formal title. "Your rooms are in the East Wing. 3rd floor, I've had your things delivered. You'll join us for family dinner tomorrow evening. 7 o'clock, don't be late." "Yes, Iamionim." Zainab SSI. Yeonhee's voice softened slightly, almost kind. "The coral beads are beautiful, your grandmother has excellent taste." Zainab's hand went to her throat, the beads her grandmother had sent. The ones Mama Bolus said would help her remember who she was. "Thank you," she said quietly. Yeonhee nodded, dismissed. Zainab bowed again and turned toward the door. Seo Jun was waiting in the hallway. "She likes you," he said. "She thinks I'm an obligation." "Those aren't mutually exclusive." He gestured down the hallway. "Come, I'll show you to your rooms." They walked in silence through corridors that seemed to go on forever. Traditional paintings on the walls, modern sculptures in alcoves, security cameras in every corner. Zainab counted them automatically. 1, 2, 5, 8. "Noticing the cameras," Seo-jun said. "Should I not? Most people don't on their first day. You're observant." "I'm cautious." "Good, cautious people survive." He stopped at a door, pulled out a keycard, handed it to her. "This is yours. Your fingerprint is already programmed. So is your facial recognition." "How?" "I had it done this afternoon." He pushed the door open. "After you." Rooms were beautiful, sitting area with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the garden. Bedroom band with a massive bed and silk bedding. Bathroom with a soaking tub. Walk-in closet already filled with clothes. Her clothes from the apartment, yes, but also new things. Dresses, shoes, coats, all in her size. "The black card is on the dresser," Seo-jun said from the doorway. "No limit. Buy whatever you need. Kim will drive you anywhere you want to go, just tell him in advance." "Kim, head of security, you met him earlier, briefly." "Man who'd been shooting people in the parking structure, right. My room is at the end of the hall," Seo-jun continued. "If you need anything, call or text, you have my number." "'Kay," he didn't leave, just stood there in the doorway, watching her. Zainab turned to face him fully. "Is there something else?" "You did well today." "I survived humiliation and married a stranger. That's not doing well. That's doing necessary. Same thing in this family." He pushed off the doorframe, started to leave, stopped. "Zainab." "Yes." The contract said no intimacy required. "I meant that you're safe here." He looked at her for a long moment. "From me? Yes, from everyone else," he shrugged. "That's what this security is for, sleep well." He closed the door. She heard his footsteps retreat down the hallway, heard another door open and close. Zainab stood in the center of her beautiful new prison and felt tears prick her eyes. Blink them away, crying was useless. She'd learned that young. The world didn't care about tears, it cared about what you did next. She pulled out her phone, texted her sister. "Married, long story, I'm okay, I'll call tomorrow." Amara responded immediately. "What, call now?" "Tomorrow, promise, love you." She turned off her phone before Amara could respond again. Then she sat on the edge of the bed and took off coral beads, held them in her palm, felt their weight. Her grandmother's voice echoed in memory. "When you forget who you are, hold these, feel them, remember." Zainab closed her fingers around the beads. "I remember," she whispered to the empty room. "I remember." But sitting in that beautiful bedroom in that cold house, wearing a stranger's ring, she wondered if remembering would be enough. The first week passed in a blur of adjustment. Zainab learned the house routines. Breakfast at 7. The family usually didn't gather, but staff prepared meals in the kitchen. Lunch was flexible. Dinner at 7 when the family was home. She learned to navigate the hallways, learned which rooms were private and which were shared. Learned that Seo Jun's father Kang Yi-sung spent most of his time at the company headquarters and barely acknowledged her existence. Learned that Yeonhee watched everything with those sharp eyes. She didn't see Min Yi. He lived in a penthouse in Gangnam now. Separate. Disgraced but not destroyed. That was the Kang way. You could fail but you couldn't embarrass the family publicly. Min Yi had done both. Seo Jun was everywhere and nowhere. He left early for meetings, came home late. Sometimes she'd see him in the hallway and he'd nod. Sometimes she wouldn't see him for days, but she felt his presence. In the way staff deferred to her. In the way Kim appeared whenever she left the estate. In the way her gallery funding increased substantially the week after the wedding. On day 8, she returned to her rooms after visiting the gallery and found her laptop moved. Just slightly. From the left side of the desk to the right. She always kept it on the left. Always, she stood very still, looked around the room, Everything else seemed normal. But someone had been in here, someone had touched her things. She opened the laptop, checked her files, nothing missing, nothing obviously changed. But the feeling persisted, watched, monitored. That night at dinner, just her and Yeon-hee, Yi-sung was traveling. Seo-jun was in a meeting, she asked it carefully. Yeon-him, do the housekeepers have access to all the rooms? Yeon-hee looked up from her soup. Of course, how else would they clean? I just wondered if there was a schedule, so I know when they'll be in my space. It bother you? I like privacy. Privacy is a luxury in this family. Yeon-hee's voice was gentle but firm. We protect each other, that requires knowing what's happening in our own house. I understand protection, I don't understand surveillance. Don't you? Yeon-hee set down her spoon. You're a smart woman, Zainab. You know what family you married into. You know what business keeps this house running. Did you think we don't take precautions? Cautions against what? Everything. Yeon-hee smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. Drink your soup, it's getting cold. Zainab drank her soup, but that night she checked her room thoroughly, found the camera behind the smoke detector, small, professional, high-end. She stared at it for a long time, then she pulled out her phone and texted Seo-jun. We need to talk, now, he responded in 30 seconds. My office, 20 minutes. His office was on the 3rd floor, West Wing. She'd never been invited in before. The door was slightly ajar when she arrived. She pushed it open. The room was exactly what she expected. Massive desk, floor-to-ceiling windows, bookshelves lined with legal texts and business journals, computer monitors, filing cabinets, and on one wall a panel that looked slightly different from the others. Seo-jun sat behind the desk. He looked tired, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up. He gestured to the chair across from him. Sit. She remained standing. There's a camera in my room. Just yes. No denial, no explanation. Watching me. Security is watching. I review the footage when necessary. Rage bloomed hot in her chest. You said I was safe. You said the contract protected my privacy. The contract said no intimacy without consent. It said nothing about security measures. Security measures? You're spying on me in my own bedroom. It's not your bedroom, it's my house, my family's house. And yes, we monitor all the rooms for security. Hested, walked around the desk. Leaned against it, arms crossed. Would you prefer I remove the cameras and let you be vulnerable? Because I can do that. But when something happens, and it will, Zainab, it always does in this family, don't blame me for not protecting you. This isn't protection. This is control. Same thing. It's not. She stepped closer. I didn't sign up to be watched like a prisoner. You signed up for exactly this. You just didn't read between the lines. His voice was calm, reasonable. That made it worse. You wanted to stay in Seoul. You wanted your gallery funded. You wanted protection from scandal and deportation. I gave you all of that. The price is living by my family's rules. Then tell me the rules, all of them. Because I'm tired of discovering new violations of my privacy. He studied her. Then he pushed off the desk, walked to the wall panel she'd noticed, pressed it. It slid open. Inside was a small room, monitors, screens showing different parts of the estate, the gardens, the hallways, the garage, and one screen showing her bedroom. Empty now, but clearly, obviously, unmistakably her room. These are the rules, Seo-jun said quietly. We watch, we monitor, we protect. Nothing happens in this house without someone knowing. That includes you. Zainab stared at the screens, at the violation made manifest. How long? Since you moved in. Before the parking structure. You said you knew where I was. How? He didn't answer, just watched her, waiting. Long have you been watching me, Seo-jun? He walked to a filing cabinet, pulled out a folder, set it on the desk in front of her. She didn't touch it. He open-netted himself, photographs. Her at the gallery opening where she'd met Min-yi. Her having coffee with the gallery director, her walking through in Sadong Market. Her at her apartment window in the early morning, coffee cup in hand, hair loose around her shoulders. 8 months, he said softly. I've been watching you for 8 months. Room tilted. She gripped the desk edge. 8 months. I met Min-yi 9 months ago. You were watching me before I even met your brother. Yes. Closed the folder. Because I saw you at that first gallery opening, the one where you presented your archive work. You were talking about preserving Nigerian art in the diaspora, about how migration changed culture but doesn't erase it, about how identity is something you carry, not something you lose. He looked at her, really looked. And I thought, this woman understands what it means to exist between worlds. This woman is dangerous. Dangerous. Dangerous to ignore. Dangerous to dismiss. Dangerous to let my brother have when I wanted you myself. The words hung in the air between them. Heavy. Inevitable, Zainab's voice came out very quiet. The wedding wasn't a rescue. It was a retrieval. Yes, she should have run, should have screamed, should have called anyone, should have grabbed that folder and gone to the police. But Kang Seo was looking at her like a man who just set down a weight he'd been carrying for months, and somewhere in the sick twist of her stomach she recognized that she'd known. On some level, she'd known from the moment he stepped forward at the altar. From the moment he said, "Good girl," like he already owned her. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "Want you to stop fighting the inevitable. I want you to accept that you are mine now. I want you to understand that I will do anything, Zainab, to keep you. And I want you to decide if you're going to waste energy resisting or if you're going to use that brilliant mind to figure out how to survive this marriage on your own terms." My own terms? Within the parameters I set. Yes, that's not freedom. But it's more than you'd have anywhere else. He moved closer, not touching. Just close enough that She could smell his cologne, feel the heat of his body. "You're angry, I understand, but anger is useless without direction. So direct it, negotiate, make demands, test boundaries. I'll tell you when you cross them, but stop pretending you didn't know what you were getting into when you said yes. I didn't know you'd been stalking me for months. Stalking is such an ugly word. I prefer observing." "I don't care what you prefer." He smiled, actually smiled. There she is. There's the woman who told a critic at her opening that his opinion was worth less than the canvas it wasn't written on. There's the woman I want. You don't want me, you want to own me. Can't it be both? She slapped him, hard, fast. Her palm cracked against his cheek and his head turned slightly with the impact. Silence. He touched his face, looked at his fingers like expecting blood. There wasn't any, just a red mark blooming across his cheek. When he looked at her again, his eyes were dark and bright and something that might have been excitement. "Feel better?" he asked. "No, pity, because that's the only one you get. Hit me again and there will be consequences." "What kind of consequences?" "The kind where I stop being reasonable." He stepped back, gave her space. "It's late, you should sleep. We'll have a family dinner tomorrow. Yi-sung will be back, he'll want to meet you properly." "I don't want to have dinner with your family." "The contract says you will. 4 public appearances minimum per month. Family dinners count." "I hate you." "I know, go to bed, Zainab," she went, but at the door she stopped. Didn't turn around, just spoke to the empty air. "If you're going to watch me, at least give me the courtesy of knowing when. I don't want to discover cameras. I want you to tell me where they are." "That defeats the purpose of surveillance." "Then I'll find them myself and disable them, and you'll have to replace them. And we'll waste time and money and energy on a battle neither of us will win. Or you can tell me where they are and I'll accept the surveillance in exchange for transparency." Silence. "Then every room has at least one. Bedrooms have 2. Bathrooms have audio only, no visual. Hallways have full coverage. Gardens have motion sensors and cameras at all entrances." "Thank you." "You're negotiating. Good. You're learning." She closed the door on his voice, walked back to her room on shaking legs. Inside, she looked up at the smoke detector. At the camera she now knew was there. She looked directly into it. "See you," she said clearly. "I see you seeing me." Then she got ready for bed, and when she finally slept, she dreamed of parking structures and bullets and Ammon's hands on her wrist saying, "You're mine now," like it was a promise and a threat and a truth she couldn't escape. If you're still watching this, you need to see what happens when Zainab stops just surviving and starts playing the game herself. Comment below what you think she should do next. And make sure you're subscribed because the next part shows you exactly how dangerous a cornered woman can be. Don't go anywhere. This is where everything changes. Family dinner the next evening was an exercise in performance. Zainab wore a navy dress that Yeonhee had left in her room with a note. "Appropriate for tonight." She wore the coral beads, armor and reminder both. The dining room was formal, traditional, low table, floor cushions. Yi-sung sat at the head, Yeonhee to his right, Seo-jun to his left. Zainab between Seo-jun and an empty space where Min-yi should have been but wasn't. Yi-sung was in his 60s, silver hair, sharp eyes. A kind of man who'd built an empire through ruthlessness disguised as civility. He looked at Zainab the way you'd appraise a new acquisition. "So," he said in Korean, "you're the woman who caused my sons to fight." Zainab answered in careful Korean. "I apologize for any disruption, Abioji." "Your Korean is good. Seo-jun said you'd been studying." She glanced at Seo-jun. He was watching her with no expression. "I've been studying for 3 years since I decided to stay in Seoul long-term." "Commitment. I respect that." Yi-sung accepted a bowl of soup from a staff member. "Tell me about your family. Your father is in business." "Textiles, import-export, based in Lagos and Ibadan." Successful. Moderately, he's hopping to expand into East Asian markets. Yi-sung smiled slightly. I assume he's pleased with this marriage. He's pleased I've found stability. Diplomatic answer. Yi-sung looked at Seo-jun. You chose well, she's smart. I know. Dinner continued. Small talk, business discussion. Yeonhee asked about the gallery. Zainab answered carefully, aware that every word was being evaluated. Aware that Seo-jun's hand rested on the table close to hers, not touching, but close enough that she felt the heat of his skin. Near the end of the meal, Yi-sung set down his chopsticks. Zainab SSI, I want to be clear about something. Your family now. That means you're protected, but it also means you represent us. Your actions reflect on the Kang name. Understood? Yes, Abioji. Because there are people who will try to use you to hurt us. Journalists, competitors, people who want to find weakness. He looked at her directly. Are you a weakness, Zainab? The room went very quiet. Even the staff paused in their movements. Zainab met his eyes. No, Abioji, I'm an asset you didn't know you needed. Seo-jun's hand moved, covered hers, squeezed once. Warning or approval, she couldn't tell. Yi-sung laughed, actually laughed. I like her, she has spine. He stood, the meal was over. Seo-jun, a word in my office. Men left. Yeonhee lingered. She looked at Zainab with something that might have been respect. You handled that well, she said quietly. Thank you, Iamionim. Be careful. Yi-sung likes strength, but he doesn't tolerate challenge. Know the difference. I will, Yeonhee nodded. Left. Zainab sat alone at the table for a moment, feeling the weight of the evening settle into her bones. She'd passed some kind of test, but she didn't know what the next test would be. She went back to her rooms, changed into comfortable clothes, tried to work on gallery notes but couldn't concentrate. At 10:47 p.m. her phone buzzed. Seo-jun. Come to my room. A request, never a request. She considered ignoring it, considered texting back no. But curiosity won. She wanted to know what he'd say, what he'd do if she refused. She went, his door was open. She knocked anyway. He looked up from his desk, still in his dinner clothes minus the jacket. Close the door, she did. Sit, she remained standing. What do you want? My father likes you, that's good. It means you'll have more freedom. Freedom is a relative term in this house. Everything is relative. He leaned back in his chair. You impressed him tonight, the asset comment, that was smart. I meant it. I know, that's why it worked. He stood, walked to the window, looked out at the garden lights. There's something you should know. Minyi didn't back out of the wedding on his own. I know. You manipulated him. Just me. The woman he's engaged to now, Cha Yuna, her family has leverage on him, business deals that went wrong, money that went missing. They threatened to expose him unless he married their daughter. Zainab absorbed this. So he sacrificed me to save himself. Yes, you knew this would happen. Suspected. I encouraged it. I made sure the pressure came at exactly the right time. He turned to face her. It needed him to break first, publicly. So when I stepped in, it looked like mercy instead of calculation. It was calculation. It was both. He moved closer. You need to understand something. Minyi is weak. He always has been. He controls the clean subsidiaries because he's presentable, good with media, good at playing the golden heir, but the real power in this family, that's me. Logistics, enforcement, the infrastructure that makes everything else possible. You mean the illegal parts. I mean the necessary parts. The parts that keep this family on top. He stopped in front of her, close. And know you are part of that infrastructure, which means you need to know what you're protecting. I'm not protecting anything, I'm surviving. Thing. He reached out, she went still. His fingers touched the coral beads at her throat. These are beautiful, your grandmother sent them. Yes, what do they mean? They mean remember who you are when the world tries to make you forget. Woman. His fingers lingered on the beads. On her skin just below them. And who are you, Zainab? I don't know anymore. You do. You're the woman who slapped me last night and demanded transparency. You're the woman who told my father she was an asset. You're the woman who's learning to survive in a world that wants to break her. His hand dropped. Don't lose that, I need you sharp. Why? Because weak partners are liabilities, strong partners are leverage. He stepped back. Go to bed, tomorrow you have a gallery meeting, Kim will drive you. I know, I have a schedule. I know you do, I approved it. She stared at him. You approve my schedule. I approve everything, that's how this works. I want that to stop. No. Jun, no. His voice was firm, final. I will know where you are at all times. I will approve who you meet with. I will monitor your communications when necessary. That's not negotiable. Everything is negotiable. Your safety, not to me. They looked at each other. The room hummed with tension. Hate this, she said quietly. I know. I hate you. I know that too. Does it bother you? He smiled, sad, strange. Less than it should. She left, but as she walked back to her rooms, she realized something. He told her about Min Yi, about the leverage, about the family structure. Information was currency and he'd just given her currency. She didn't know yet, but she'd figure it out. 2 weeks later, she found out exactly why the gallery opening was supposed to be simple. Showcase for emerging Korean-Nigerian artists. Her archive project going public. Press would be there. Family expected to attend. Seo Jun had promised to come. He didn't. Min Yi did. Zainab saw him across the gallery at 8:30 p.m. He looked thinner. Tired. The golden air showing cracks. He was alone. No Cha Yuna. No entourage. He caught her eye. Nodded toward the back exit. She should have ignored him. Should have called Kim, who was stationed by the front door. Should have texted Seo Jun. But curiosity pulled her toward that exit. Toward answers she didn't know she needed. The alley behind the gallery was quiet. Min Yi leaned against the brick wall, smoking. He offered her the cigarette. She shook her head. "You look good," he said. "Marriage suits you." "Do you want Min Yi to apologize? I know that's not enough. I know what I did was..." He stopped, laughed bitterly. "I'm a coward. Yuna's family had evidence of embezzlement. I panicked, and you paid for it. Are you telling me this now? Because you should know what you're part of. Seo Jun didn't save you. He claimed you." "There's a difference." "I know." Yi looked surprised. "You know, and you're still. What choice do I have? You destroyed my credibility. Your brother rebuilt it. I'm trapped either way." "You're not." He pulled out his phone, showed her a screen, photos, documents. "This is evidence, real evidence, of what Seo Jun really does. The logistics and enforcement he mentioned. He runs the family's gray market operations, smuggling, money laundering. He's been doing it for years, and he's good enough that no one can touch him. But this," he gestured at the phone, "this could end him." Zainab stared at the screen, at documents that showed shipping routes and offshore accounts and payments topopple she didn't recognize, at evidence that could destroy Seo Jun completely. "Why show me this?" "Because I owe you. And because if you want out, this is your leverage. Take it to the press. The authorities anywhere. They'll protect you. And Seo Jun will be too busy defending himself to come after you." She should have taken the phone, should have copied everything, should have run. Instead, she said, "Did Seo Jun send you?" Min Yi's face went blank. "What? Did he send you here with this evidence? Is this a test?" "No, I'm trying to help." "You've never helped anyone but yourself." She stepped back. "I don't know what game you're playing, but I'm not taking that bait." She turned to leave. Min Yi grabbed her arm. "Zainab, please. I'm trying to give you a way out. Go of me." He didn't. His grip tightened. "You don't understand. Seo Jun is dangerous. He's obsessed with you. I've seen it. He's been watching you for months." "I know. He'll never let you go." "I know. Then why?" The alley flooded with light. A car pulled in. Black sedan. Kim got out of the driver's seat. Seo Jun got out of the back. Min Yi dropped her arm like it burned. Seo Jun walked toward them slowly, hands in his pockets, no expression. He stopped in front of Min Yi. "Making a mistake," he said quietly. "I'm trying to help her." "You're trying to hurt me. There's a difference." Seo Jun looked at Zainab. "Did he show you the evidence?" "Yes. And I didn't take it." "Not because I don't trust him more than I trust you." Seo Jun smiled. "Smart girl." He looked back at Min Yi. "Leave now before I forget we're brothers." Yi left, practically ran. Kim followed him out, making sure he was really gone. Silence in the alley, just Zainab and Seo Jun and the weight of what had just happened. "It a test?" she asked. No, Min Yi acted on his own, probably thought he was being noble. Seo Jun moved closer. "But you passed it anyway." "I didn't pass anything. I made a choice." "Same thing." He touched her face, gentle. His thumb traced her cheekbone. "You chose me over him, over freedom. Why?" "Because freedom with nothing is just a different kind of prison. At least here I know the rules." "That's not the only reason." She didn't answer. Because he was right and she didn't want to admit it. Somewhere in the last month, she'd stopped seeing him as just a captor. She'd started seeing him as the only person who'd ever been honest about what he wanted from her. Brutal honesty was still honesty. "Come on," he said. "I'll take you home." They drove in silence. But his hand rested on the seat between them, and when they hit a turn, her hand slid against his and he caught it, held it. She didn't pull away. At the estate, he walked her to her room, stood in the doorway. "Thank you," he said quietly. "What? For choosing me, even if you hate me for it." She looked at him in the dim hallway light. At this man who'd watched her and manipulated her, entrapped her and protected her all at once. "I don't hate you," she said. "I wish I did. It would be easier." "I know." He left. She closed the door, leaned against it. And for the first time since the wedding, she cried, not from fear, not from anger, from the terrible realization that she was starting to adapt to captivity. Starting to find comfort in the cage, the camera in her room watched her cry. She didn't care anymore. Let him see. Let him know what he'd done. But when she finally stopped crying and crawled into bed, she felt her phone buzz. A text from Seo Jun. Not weak for crying, you're human, sleep well. She stared at that text for a long time. Then she turned off her phone and slept. And in her dreams, she was back in Lagos, sitting with her grandmother, and Mama Bolus was saying, sometimes surviving means changing shape. As long as you keep your core, you're still yourself. When she woke, she believed it. The next morning, Zainab decided to test exactly how much freedom she had. She told Kim she wanted to go to Itaewon. Alone. Drive you, Kim said. I want to walk. Mrs. Kang. I'm going, you can follow me if you want, but I'm walking. Kim called Seo Jun. She could hear him from across the room, heard Seo Jun's response. Let her go follow at a distance. So she went. Walked through the streets of Itaewon, feeling Kim's presence 3 storefronts behind her. She went into a cafe, ordered coffee in Korean. Sat by the window and watched people live normal lives. Her phone rang. Seo Jun. Enjoying your freedom. His voice was amused. How did you? I can see you. She looked around, spotted the camera mounted above the cafe entrance. She should have known. Having coffee, is that allowed? Yes, but come home by noon. We have lunch with investors. I didn't agree to that. The contract said 4 public appearances minimum. This counts. I hate that contract. It again. There's a renegotiation clause, page 17. She pulled out her phone, opened the PDF of the contract she'd saved, found page 17. Clause 14. Contract terms subject to renegotiation after 90 days of marriage, pending mutual agreement. 90 days, she said. 60 more days, then we renegotiate. If I want changes, then you negotiate. I thought you understood how this works. She did. She was learning. I'll be home by noon. Good. Wear the gray dress, the one with the high collar. How do you know what dresses I have? I had them selected for you. Remember? She hung up, drank her coffee, and started making a list in her mind. All the things she'd demand when Thera negotiated. All the leverage she'd need to get them. 2 months. She could survive 2 months. But that night everything changed. She woke at 2:37 a.m. to shouting. Gunshots, close in the house. Zainab rolled out of bed. Her mind went clear and cold. She grabbed her phone, texted Seo Jun. What's happening? No response, more shots, closer now. She heard running in the hallways, heard Yeonhee's voice sharp and commanding, heard someone screaming. Her door burst open. She nearly screamed. But it was Seo Jun. Blood on his shirt. Not his blood, she realized. Someone else's. Dressed. Now we're leaving. What? Now Zainab, she obeyed, threw on jeans and a sweater, grabbed her passport from the drawer where she'd hidden it, the coral beads, her phone. Seo Jun grabbed her hand. They ran. The hallways were chaos, security everywhere. She saw Yi-sung directing men with guns, saw Yeonhee on the phone, calm despite the violence, saw blood on the floor. Fresh, Seo Jun pulled her toward the garage. Kim was there with a car running. They got in. The car peeled out before the doors fully closed. What happened? Zainab's voice shook. Rivals, the ones who tried to take you before, they came for the whole family this time. Seo Jun was checking his phone, typing fast. We're going to a safe house. You'll stay there until this is over. What about your parents? They're protected. This is about sending a message. What message? At her, that I have something worth taking. They drove for 40 minutes, ended up at a high-rise in a neighborhood Zainab didn't recognize. Kim led them to a penthouse, top floor, reinforced door, windows that didn't open. Be safe here, Kim said. I'll be outside. He left, the door locked, electronic. Zainab heard the beep. She turned to Seo Jun. Are we prisoners? You're protected. That's not what I asked. He pulled off his bloody shirt, went to the bathroom. She heard water running. Followed him. He was washing blood off his hands, someone else's blood. Did you kill someone tonight? She asked. Yes. Then 1-3. She should have been horrified, should have run, but she just stood there watching him wash away evidence off violence with the same calm he used for everything. Does it bother you? She asked. Killing? Yes. Anymore. He dried his hands, looked at her in the mirror. Does that scare you? Yes. Good. You should be scared. I'm a dangerous man. I know. Yet you're still here. I don't have a choice. You always have a choice. He turned to face her. You could have run tonight in the chaos. No one would have stopped you, but you grabbed your passport and your beads and you came with me. Why? She didn't answer. Because she didn't know, or because she knew and didn't want to admit it. He stepped closer. I'll tell you why, because you're safer with me than without me, because you've learned that I keep my promises. Because somewhere in the last 2 months you've realized that I will burn down the world before I let anyone hurt you. That's not love, that's obsession. Can it be both? He kissed her, not gentle, possessive, claiming she should have pushed him away, should have reminded him about the contract, about consent, about boundaries. Kissed him back, his hands went to her waist, pulled her closer. She felt the heat of his skin through her sweater, felt his heart beating fast, felt her own heart answering. He broke the kiss, rested his forehead against hers. "Tell me to stop," he said. "Tell me you don't want this and I'll stop." She should have said the word that would end this, should have protected herself. "Hate you," she whispered. "I know. I hate that you make me feel this. I know that too. I hate that I chose you tonight." "Zainab." His voice was raw, real. "Tell me to stop." She looked at him, at this man who'd stalked her and trapped her and protected her, at this man who'd killed for her tonight, at this man who was giving her the choice now when he could have just taken. "No," she said. "I won't tell you to stop." "You sure?" "No, but I'm choosing anyway." He kissed her again, slower this time. She felt him shake, felt the control slip. She'd never seen him lose a control before. It was terrifying and exhilarating and wrong and right all at once. They moved to the bedroom. He was careful, checking with her at every step, making sure she wanted this, and she did. She hated that she wanted this, but she did. Afterward, they lay in the darkness, his arm around her, her head on his chest, both of them breathing hard. "This doesn't change anything," she said. "I know. I still hate the cameras, the surveillance, the control. I know. I'm still demanding renegotiation in 60 days. I'm counting on it." He kissed her head. "Sleep, you're safe." And despite everything, despite the violence and the blood and the wrongness of it all, she believed him. She slept. And in the morning when she woke, he was already awake, watching her. "Long have you been watching?" she asked. "An hour." "That's creepy." "I know," he smiled. "But you're beautiful when you sleep." "That's still creepy." "Probably." She sat up, reality settling back in. "What happens now?" "Now we wait. Kim will tell me when it's safe to go home." "The people who attacked, what happens to them?" "My father's handling it." "Handling it how?" "You don't want details." "Yes, I do." He looked at her for a long moment. "They'll be found, arrested. Evidence will appear that ties them to things they may or may not have done. They'll disappear into the system, and their organization will learn not to touch Kang family again. That's not justice. It's power. Justice is for people who can't afford revenge." She should have argued, should have protested, but she was starting to understand how this world worked, the world she'd married into, the world where power mattered more than right. "I want breakfast," she said. "There's food in the kitchen." "I want you to make it." He laughed. "I don't cook." "Learn. If I'm trapped here with you, you're going to be useful." He got up, put on pants, went to the kitchen. She heard him opening cabinets, cursing softly. She smiled despite everything. This was her life now. Trapped with a dangerous man in a safe house while violence happened outside. Macking demands about breakfast while bodies were being disappeared. She should have been horrified by how normal it felt. Maybe she was adapting. Maybe she was breaking. Maybe there was no difference. She got up, went to the kitchen. Watched Seo Jun try to figure out the coffee maker. "Here," she said. "Let me." They made breakfast together, eggs and toast and coffee, ate in silence at the small dining table. Normal, domestic, wrong. "I need to call my sister," Zainab said. "She'll be worried." "No calls, not until this is over." "Jun, I'll have Kim send her a message. Let her know you're safe, but no direct contact, not yet." "Maybe the day after." She wanted to argue, but she saw the tension in his shoulders, saw the way he kept checking his phone. Hugh was worried, actually worried. "Are we really safe here?" she asked. "Yes. How do you know?" "Because no one knows about this place except Kim and me. I bought it 2 years ago, cash, under a shell company. I've never brought anyone here before. Until me. Until you." "Why?" "Because you're the only thing that matters." He said it simply, like it was obvious. Like it wasn't the most terrifying thing she'd ever heard. They stayed in the safe house for 3 days. 3 days of waiting. Of watching news reports about a gang shooting in Seongbukdong. Of Seo Jun on his phone constantly, coordinating, directing. Of Zainab reading and thinking and planning her renegotiation demands. On day 3, Seo Jun told her it was over. "We can go home." "Home," she repeated. "You mean your house?" "I mean our house. It's not mine. It will be eventually." He started packing their minimal belongings. "When we renegotiate, I'll put your name on the deed if that's what you want." She stared at him. "You do that. If you demand it, yes, I told you, negotiate, make demands, I'll tell you what I can give." "What can't you give?" He stopped packing, looked at her directly. "Your freedom to leave, that's not negotiable. Everything else is." "That's not fair." "Never said it was fair. I said it was honest." They went home. The estate looked normal. Clean, like violence hadn't happened here, but Zainab saw Thenu cameras, the additional security. The way staff moved differently, more carefully. Her phone buzzed. Seo Jun. Privacy mode is active, but for the record, I miss watching you sleep. She laughed, actually laughed, typed back. Creepy, but noted. His response, come to my room. She considered it, considered saying no, considered testing this new boundary. Instead, she got up, walked down the hall, knocked on his door. He opened it immediately, like he'd been waiting. Hi, she said. Hi. I'm choosing to be here. I know. Make sure you remember that. He pulled her inside, kissed her, and this time when she kissed him back, it felt like choice instead of surrender. 6 months passed. The Beak Syndicate was eliminated. New rivals emerged. Life continued in its strange, dangerous rhythm. Zainab's gallery thrived. Her archive project gained international attention. She traveled to Lagos twice, stayed for 2 weeks each time, and came back to Seoul because she wanted to, because Seoul was home now. Her relationship with Seo Jun shifted. Not softer, not safer, but more honest. He still watched her. She still challenged him. They still fought. But they also talked, laughed, built something that looked like partnership if you squinted. One night, lying in his bed after another negotiation that ended with both of them naked and satisfied, she asked the question that had been sitting in her chest for months. When did you know? Know what? That you wanted me, specifically me. He was quiet for a long time. His fingers traced patterns on her shoulder. The first gallery opening, you were talking about your grandmother, about how she taught you that art is memory made physical, that when you create, you're making sure your existence can't be erased. He kissed her shoulder. And I thought, this woman understands what it means to fight for your place in the world. This woman will fight me, and I wanted that. I wanted someone who would fight. That's still creepy. Probably, he pulled her closer, but it's honest. Honesty doesn't make it less obsessive. No, but obsession doesn't make it less real. She thought about that, about love and obsession and choice, about how they'd all tangled together until she couldn't separate them anymore. I don't know if this is love or survival, she admitted. Does it matter? Yes. Why? Because I need to know if I'm breaking or adapting. He rolled to face her, looked at her directly. You're not breaking, you're evolving, there's a difference. How do you know? Because broken people don't negotiate, they don't demand better, they don't fight back, you do all of those things. He touched her face. You're not broken, Zainab, you're steel wrapped in silk, you always were, I just gave you a reason to show it. She kissed him, not because she had to, not because she was trapped, but because she wanted to. Because somewhere in the chaos and control and surveillance and danger, she'd found something that looked enough like love to risk calling it that. I'm still keeping my own accounts, she said against his mouth. I know. And I'm still visiting Lagos without you sometimes. I know that too. And if you ever put cameras back in my bathroom, I'm divorcing you and taking half your assets. He laughed, noted and agreed. They fell asleep tangled together, and when morning came, Zainab woke first for once, looked at him sleeping, saw the man who'd stalked her and trapped her and protected her, saw the man she'd chosen despite everything. She picked up her phone, texted her grandmother in Lagos. Mama Bolus, I'm still wearing the beads, I still remember, but I'm different now. I hope you understand. The response came an hour later. We all become different people in different places. As long as your core stays true, you're still yourself. Is your core true, Zainab? She looked at Seo Jun still sleeping, at the life she'd built in this strange, dangerous house, at the choices she'd made and would keep making. She texted back, yes, my core is true, it's just sharper now. Good, sharp women survive. Love you, child. Love you too, Mama. Zainab set down her phone, got up, started her day. Gallery meeting at 10, lunch with Yeonhee at noon, dinner with Seo Jun at 7, normal, dangerous, hers. 2 years later, everything changed again. Zainab was at the gallery when Kim called. His voice was tight, controlled. Mrs. Kang, there's been an incident. Her blood went cold. What kind of incident? Seo Jun was in a meeting. There was an explosion. He's alive but injured. I'm bringing you to the hospital now. The gallery disappeared. The world narrowed to Kim's car and the hospital, and the need to see Seo Jun alive. He was in surgery when she arrived. Yeonhee sat in the waiting room, perfectly composed except for her hands twisting in her lap. Yi-sung paced. Min Yi was there too, surprisingly. He looked shaken. What happened? Zainab demanded. Car bomb, Yi-sung said. Targeted professional. Who? We don't know yet. They waited. Hours. Zainab sat with her grandmother's beads in her hand, praying to gods she wasn't sure she believed in anymore. Finally, a surgeon emerged. He's stable, lucky. The bomb was meant to kill, but something deflected the worst of it. He has burns, broken ribs, but he'll live. Zainab wanted to collapse with relief. Yeonhee did cry, just briefly, then composed herself. Can I see him? Zainab asked. Family only right now. She's family, Yeonhee said firmly. Let her see him. They let her in. Seo Jun lay in the hospital bed, bandages covering his chest and arms. His eyes were closed. Machines beeped steadily. Alive, he was alive. She sat beside the bed, took his hand carefully. His eyes opened, focused on her. He tried to smile, winced. Don't talk, she said. He talked anyway, voice rough. Did I miss negotiation day? She laughed, cried. You idiot, you almost died. Almost doesn't count. Who did this? Don't know yet, we'll find out. He squeezed her hand, weak but there. You okay? You're asking if I'm okay. You're the one with a bomb. I know my condition. You're pale, that worries me. I'm pale because you almost died. But I didn't. His eyes held hers. I promised to protect you, can't do that. If I'm dead, so I didn't die. That's not how bombs work. Worked this time. She kissed his forehead, the only place without bandages. Rest, I'll be here. Always. Don't push your luck. He smiled, closed his eyes. Love you. It was the first time he'd said it out loud. After 2 years of obsession and control and complicated everything, he'd finally said it. I know, she said quietly. I love you too. His hand tightened on hers. Then he slept. Zainab sat there holding his hand and realized something. She'd meant it. She loved him, despite everything, maybe because of everything. She loved this dangerous, obsessive, honest man who'd stalked her and trapped her and protected her and fought beside her. Love and obsession and choice, all tangled together until they were indistinguishable. And she was okay with that. The investigation revealed the bombing was orchestrated by a competitor from China. They wanted to destabilize the Kang family operations. They failed. Badly. Yi-sung's response was swift and brutal. Within a month, the entire organization had been dismantled. Seo Jun recovered slowly. Zainab stayed with him through it all, helped him walk when his ribs healed enough, argued with him when he tried to work from the hospital bed, negotiated with him about security protocols moving forward. We're adding more cameras, he said one afternoon, reviewing his laptop despite doctor's orders. No. Zainab. No, we're not living in more fear because someone tried to kill you. We're living smarter, but not smaller. Someone almost succeeded. And you're alive. Don't let them win by making you paranoid. He looked at her. You're not scared. I'm terrified, but I'm not going to live in a cage because of it. Neither are you. You're arguing with me while I'm injured. That's cruel. You're working while you're injured. That's stupid. We're even. He laughed, winced. Stop making me laugh. Then stop being ridiculous. They compromised, some additional security, but not the full lockdown he wanted. Partnership, actual partnership. When Seo Jun finally came home 6 weeks later, Zainab was waiting. She'd prepared his room, made his favorite food, wore the coral beads. He saw them immediately. Your armor. My reminder. Of what? That I'm still me, even here, even with you. I never wanted you to be anyone else. I know, that's why I stayed. They stood in the doorway of his room, their room really, because she'd moved most of her things in during his hospital stay. 2 years of marriage. 2 years of fighting and negotiating and choosing each other despite and because of everything. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For staying, for fighting, for loving me even though I'm obsessive, controlling, dangerous. All of those things. Yeah, she kissed him carefully, mindful of his injuries. But you're my obsessive, controlling, dangerous husband, so I guess we're stuck with each other. Always. Don't make promises you can't keep. I've kept every promise I've made to you. She thought about that. He had every single one. The protection, the renegotiation, the honesty, even the obsession was a kept promise. He'd told her what he was from the beginning. He'd never pretended to be safer than he was. Okay, she said, always. They went inside, closed the door. And somewhere in Seoul, in a house full of cameras and security and danger, 2 people who'd found love in captivity and captivity in love settled into their strange, honest, chosen life together. This was their story, not rescue, not imprisonment, but choice. Brutal, honest, complicated choice. And they'd keep choosing each other, every day, for better or worse, in danger and safety, in surveillance and privacy, in obsession and love. Because sometimes the only freedom worth having is the freedom to choose your cage and make it home. If you made it this far, comment below what you think about Zainab and Seo Jun's relationship. Is it love or is it Stockholm Syndrome? Is there even a difference? Hit that subscribe button if you want more dark romance stories that don't pull punches. And stick around because there's always more darkness to explore. Thanks for watching.